Welcome to the Raleigh Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, February 26, 2018, 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, 139 Main Street in Raleigh. First order of business, call the meeting to order. If you'll all stand, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have several appointments tonight. We have a 7 o'clock appointment, Troop 15 Scoutmaster George Pachenka. We will try to get the public comment in between 7:05 and 7:10. 7:15 appointment with an attorney, 7:25 appointment with highway surveyor, 7:35 appointment Principal Assessor Sean McFadden, 7:45 appointment with the Coordinator of Health Services, 8 o'clock appointment with the Police Chief, and 8:15 appointment with Atlantic Auto Solutions. So let's go right to our 7 o'clock. Oh, yes, thank you. This meeting is being video and audio recorded and televised live on Raleigh Community Media. I like Monday nights when they start this way.
Okay.
Dear friend in scouting, Boy Scout Troop number 15 of Raleigh, Massachusetts is proud to announce that Nathaniel Richardson Smutch has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout as of November 7th, 2017. I understand that you have responded in the past to such achievements through some form of recognition. Any communication from you would be presented at his Eagle Award ceremony. I would appreciate any action on your part in showing the support for this young man. Thank you, George Pachenka. I'm going to do the proclamation. Town of Raleigh Proclamation. We, the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Raleigh, Massachusetts, by virtue of the authority vested in us by the people of Raleigh as elected officials, do hereby proclaim that Nathaniel Richardson Smutch, having completed the requirements for and having been examined by an Eagle Scout Board of Review, was found worthy of the rank of Eagle Scout. We urge all citizens of the town of Raleigh, its community leaders, businesses, and government officials to recognize this achievement and service. In witness whereof, I have hereby set my hand and seal of the town of Raleigh this 26th day of February 2018. Joseph Perry, Chairman. Motion?
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chairman, to sign that.
Motion has been made and seconded to sign the proclamation. All those in favor say aye.
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 George, would you like to present your candidate?
Gentlemen, this is Nathaniel Schmuck. Is your number up? He went
Okay.
around the town
Oh,
over a year ago and surveyed the town to see how many house numbers were visible from the road, whether the houses were set too far back, or they were painted over, or any number of things that we found, or just not there. And then he notified those people that it was a town bylaw that they had to have the visible numbers so that police, fire, and any emergency vehicles could find their house when needed.
that's so important for emergency vehicles. It's really, they have to know the number and where they're responding to. And it's just a requirement that the bylaws be followed.
You recall how many houses didn't have proper numbering?
About 190.
Really, that many?
Wow.
That's a lot.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
What kind of reaction did you get from people? Were they thankful? Or were they
Well, the way I did
Unhappy
it
about
is I left, I would leave certain slips that say like what is wrong with what's going on. I didn't get any like responses like, well, how could you do this? Why? Oh, I didn't know this. I wasn't there for when they opened their mailbox. and
Oh,
got
okay.
them.
Good. Good.
Very good.
No, that's great.
You can
That's great.
Present that at the ceremony?
But we want to offer our congratulations on achieving the Eagle.
Yes,
That is
definitely.
really quite an award.
Thank you very much.
Quite an award. Must be very proud.
I'm very proud.
Shall we do pictures?
Yeah.
I'll stand over there. That's
The
the only,
corner of our spacious
this
office.
is the only place they got left. It's got room.
Come on up. Is that your father?
Oh, I get to stand next to him? Now we can see how tall he's getting.
Once you get in there, I'll take it.
I'm not into
Thank you very much. It should just be all set.
There's no guarantee comes with this.
I'm the short one now, so I can.
You have to squeeze
Here,
it a
you
little.
stand up.
The selectmen need to pull in their
Yeah.
tummies, please.
Yeah.
One second. You squeeze in a little closer. You can see whether the young man shaved today or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think you're good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, nice job. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. That's a
you,
nice
guys.
job.
See you later, Joe. Thank you.
Congratulations, your mother and father. For,
Yes, congratulations.
There's still hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope to be invited to my second grandson's
Okay, yeah.
June 61.
eagle. Okay, let's put that back in there. We'll
I
have
read it in the history thing.
public comment for the next 5 minutes. You have a timer? Just a second. I'll be right with you, Mike. Oh. Okay,
How you doing?
Mike, could you identify yourself?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll sit over here. Make it easier. That way I'm not looking at you. Mike Sabatini, 30-year resident of Raleigh. I own the Brad Street Farm. And I'm here to help clear up a misconception that keeps perpetuating to all the town boards. It as recent as last week's Finance Committee meetings, they started talking about us. So many in town leadership positions, including the town's own attorney, keep perpetuating the myth that we don't have our permits or that we're operating without permits. And that's not true at all. In my hand, I have all the building permits signed, all the historic permits all signed. Everything's been signed since last fall. So the building permits all signed. The historic commission has all been signed off since last October, November. And there's a lot of confusion. Just last Friday, the town's attorney emailed us saying we had a new major problem. We have no building permit and no historic commission approval. And that the historic commission, the building inspector demanded site visits to go over everything. So that's pretty crazy considering this is Kenny's signature right here on the building permits. And Kenny knows we have everything done. So, out of the blue, because I have to get everything assembled, I called the historic commission, I had to send copies of everything to everybody to make sure. It was easy if it came from her. She sends it, and then she also sends a letter that basically reminds that I'm in compliance, up to date with everything. She puts an extra letter in there to the lawyer, and then she says, but we never said anything. I never said anything about anybody. I don't even know what you're talking about. So we are perplexed as to where the town attorney is getting all of this information and basically having us go around and around in circles. He's either grossly misinformed or deliberately misleading us. Because either way, it's a waste of taxpayers' money. And I wanted to let you know how this is being handled or mishandled by the town's attorney. It clearly gives the appearance that the town is deliberately or unreasonably delaying our opening of our property. But we have all our permits, we've had them. Kenny signed it in 8/30 last year, and the historic was November 3rd of last year. and we're still, and the town attorney is still confused and running around saying that we don't have permits. And the reason why I'm coming here now is just last week at the finance committee, they're talking about their budgets and how their finance budget of the attorney fees went from $35,000 to $114,000. And the man that was sitting in that corner brought us up and said it's our fault, with the town fighting with us. That's why I felt the need to come in here and tell you that, because the woman's sitting over here saying they're operating a business without permits, and this is all going on. So I felt the obligation to come in here again and show you with my permits in my hand, with my hat in my hand, to tell you, we have our permits, and we're not doing anything that we shouldn't be doing. We're just trying to make sure that everybody's comfortable with everything before we go ahead. But we do have our signed permits. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm very busy.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a 7:15 appointment. And we can, time's approximate, Debbie?
Yes.
Okay. We have a 7:15 appointment with Attorney Jill Mann and Robert Nixon for a continued discussion of Meadow Lanes and town-owned land off Meadow Lane. Attorney Jill Mann is here for an update on her request to discuss land off of Meadows. We have located the planning board subdivision approval, which is attached. The subdivision plans show that the land was designated as conservation, but that it was never voted on as such. Debbie also found minutes from 2005, which show that the land was appraised at $130,000. Conservation agent Brent Bazelak has sent the Board of Selectmen the attached letter. February 26, 2018, Mr. Joseph Perry, Chairman, Board of Selectmen, 139 Main Street, Raleigh, Mass. 01969. Subject, Nixon request concerning open space town parcels V, W, X, Y, and Z. Honorable Chairman Perry, the Conservation Department requests the above item be continued in order to bring the matter of the nature and status of the above subject parcels before the Conservation Commission at their meeting of March 6, 2018. Only recently was the October 1st, 1992 Planning Board approval of the definitive plan with conditions located accompanied by the recorded definitive plan, The Meadows at Stony Brook, dated revised September 28th, 1992. The conditions within the approval are silent as to the specific disposition of the V, W, X, Y, and Z parcels, but plan note number T states parcels V, W, X, Y, and Z shall be deeded to the town of Raleigh as open space at the time of filing the street acceptance plans with the Registry of Deeds. The Commission respectfully requests that the Board of Selectmen continue the matter in order to allow the Conservation Commission to evaluate and assess the appropriate course of action for each individual parcel involved, and then to request actions to achieve proper protection of the parcels that would contribute to natural resource protection and provide valuable open space to the citizens of Raleigh. The Commission should be able to communicate on their deliberations to the Board of Selectmen at their meeting of March 12th, 2018, if one is scheduled. This will be copied to the Planning Department as well. Sincerely yours on behalf of the Conservation Commission, Brent Bazelak, Conservation Agent. Joe?
Good evening, Jill Mann here on behalf of Bitterroot and Rob Nixon, who's here with me this evening. We got that letter awfully late to 5:05, which is why we're here, and we didn't want to just not show up, even though Mr. Bazelak had asked the board to continue it since it's more informational. We wanted to provide you with some updated information because this board had asked us, do as much research as you can, see what you find. We did pull the order of conditions which is issued by the Conservation Commission, and we noted therein that there's absolutely nothing relative to the conservation restriction or any type of permanent restriction relative to those parcels. I did note, however, that in the application, right, to the notice of intent for that pursuant to which an order of conditions is issued, to the application, did say essentially, look, we will actually give to you parcel X, which is 5.7 acres, and that parcel could be part of a conservation plan in order to maintain open space. While the plan 100% says it is to be provided for open space, there was never any indication either in the approval or in anything we could find of record from the planning board that these particular parcels should be or shouldn't be conservation area. I guess what it will be telling is a conversation with the planning board and whether or not those parcels are important to the conservation values of the town. You know, what do they really provide? I know that before in 2005, I believe it was, when Mr. Gerzak had asked for a conveyance of those parcels, conservation weighed in and said, really, there is no conservation value. You have a strip of land on the opposite side of a street. I guess what it does is prohibit the development to a certain extent of the land adjacent to it. And that's really what it does. I mean, it reduces development. And those are the parcels that you can see in dark area. But I do want this board to know that there was never any kind of a restriction. I also researched all of the land that had ever been conveyed to the town and held in restriction, and there was nothing. This wasn't here. And then I also reviewed the town records from the assessor's perspective and looked at all of the land that is held either by Essex County Greenbelt or by the town to see what the assessor classification is. So I don't know how familiar the board is with how the assessor will do it. It may be quite familiar. So the assessor actually has certain classifications relative to the municipal holdings. And if the town holds a municipal piece of land and the intention is to hold it as conservation, it has a different impact and a different value. So you'll see it says municipal conservation or municipal vacant. All of these parcels show municipal vacant, but none of them say conservation, which means the town would be free otherwise to do whatever it should choose to do. Like, you could develop it, you could put a park in, you could do many things, because when it's a conservation restriction, for the most part, you're prohibited from doing any development relative to those parcels absent an act of the legislature. So none of those parcels are affected. And then when I did look at, for example, land owned by the Greenbelt, it actually says, CH, just a charitable institution, and then it designates beside it Conservation Commission. So I did actually look at certain parcels of land to see, and these were not ever designated. As we said, we did include, I think Ms. Egan also provided you with a copy of the approval from the planning board, which we did incorporate as well as send you a copy of the amended order of conditions to show you it hadn't been. So we understand that the board would most likely want to continue until you can get the Conservation Commission can weigh in, not only on what happened before, but it's obviously within your purview to decide what to do, period. Whether it be at the prior meeting, or whether you choose to do what you choose to do in the future. It's this board's call. You're the guardians of the land, or the custodians. We would ask that the board give consideration to the conveyance for a number of reasons. Number one, it's income generating. Number two, it'll produce taxes of a greater extent than what they do now. And to the extent there is truly no value for those, if you will, we call them scour pieces, that it would be in the best interest of the community to actually allow landowners who own land that are adjacent to it to be able to sell their property and to develop it. But again, we welcome a continuance, and we'll come back again once you hear from the Conservation Commission, whatever pleases the board.
But there is a notation on the plan, the approved plan, that parcel Y, which is the one we're talking about, shall be open space.
All of them. X,
All of them,
Y,
right.
Z, W,
Right.
all open space. All that really means, believe it or not, is that they will not be part of the roadway. So if,
I don't know about that.
open space really means almost, I mean, I hate to say it, but it means nothing. It means open space. It means that there's nothing on them. I mean, there's no restriction, and there'd been nothing in the decision and nothing in the conservation order. So usually when a town will do that, I don't know how this town works, but a lot of towns, other towns will inventory property because they want to use it for other purposes, so they hold them. And it's just not part of the right of way, because a lot of times when you have those pieces on the side, because it's clear when you look at the plan, you can see how it was a parcel. There were 3 individual lots, 1, 2, 3. they were all cut off, obviously in straight lines. So when they cut off the land and you put in the roadway and you account for slight turns in it, you have these little pieces on the side. So, you know, what's the value of them? So obviously they cut off, and the town didn't want them to be part of the open space. I mean, I apologize, the town didn't want them to be part of the right-of-way. That's when the open space comes in.
Would that be part of the planning board purview, or?
Yeah, no, there was also, did you ask the town planner to look through the planning board records? Because
Bob did.
there was an email that I wrote back in 2005.
2005.
2005, in which I said that the subdivision plan says that that parcel is open space. But
All
you-
of them, yep.
Well, parcel Y in particular.
Well, we're
but-
looking for all four, well, three on that side.
Oh,
We're
all the
absolutely-
ones on
yeah.
that side,
So
yeah.
Gerzak, absolutely, I'm the first person to tell you, they say open space, but there is no restriction, there's no conservation restriction,
Yeah.
none. It just is it's just not part of the right of way,
But I thought it was made a condition by the planning board. That's,
yeah, no.
I'm wondering if there was no amended decision by the planning board? 'Cause
I
I
looked-
would not have made that up, I know that, you know. when I-
Oh, no, I mean, I think that, you know what, that's why I say to you, I mean, it's within the, if you look at it, there really is no conservation value for those parcels, other than limiting development, you know, trying not to have people be able to connect to the road. That's really the only purpose for those particular pieces, if you look at them. But the other side, the 5.7 acres, I, you know, presumed, I have no idea what the intention of the board was, that maybe you wanted to use it for something else sometime in the future,
Well, it's a lot of
which is why-
wetlands though, across the road, right?
I don't know, I
Yeah.
never looked at it, because we aren't, so I mean, if it was really open space, 50% is supposed to be upland, so I don't know if you could use it. You can use it for parks, you can do a lot of things with areas like that, but I don't know what the board has
No,
envisioned.
well, back there, we had a very rudimentary
Did
OSRD
you?
bylaw. It was extreme, and I don't think anything was ever approved under it, so I don't know.
I have no, I can't answer the question,
Yeah.
but I do know that there was no mandatory requirement for it to be restricted as conservation area. The town's free. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the town has complete authority to do whatever it chooses, but it can choose to do whatever it pleases. It's not as if, you know, we can demand you to do anything, we're not. But you need to understand that you have the authority to transfer should you choose to do so, and should town meeting choose to accept that. It's subject, obviously, to all the requirements of bidding, I mean, all of that has to happen. You would actually get, you know, the assessed, not assessed, but appraised value of those parcels.
So are you looking to purchase all the little parcels on that side of the road?
On that
Is that it?
side, yes.
So parcel Y, which is the biggest of those, was
Highly
appraised.
appraised, 130.
Appraised 100, I was surprised to see that in 2005. I didn't
Well,
think it was that high.
don't forget, that was the peak, right before the plummet.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, my guess is it went up, probably hit about 80. That's probably, you know, around the same value again, because we've had an increase, you know, maybe in 5 years, or who knows? But, yeah, I was surprised, honestly, when I saw that, I had the same exact reaction. I was like, what? And then I thought maybe it was for all of them, and it was not. It was just for Y. And Y is, I think,
24,000?
20,
yeah.
is it 2250, I think.
Right.
Why is 24,000?
Oh, it is 24, okay,
Yeah,
see, you're
right,
better
right.
than me.
I think it was one of those deals where, at the time, I'm not sure what we had for conservation commission people and stuff, it probably just slipped through the cracks. The intent
Yeah, I
was
think
to
it probably
get-
did, probably
We
did.
had a couple of parcels like that where it was intended to be, and then it never got registered, so
Yeah.
if it isn't registered,
Yeah, it isn't, and it's
it
still,
doesn't mean anything.
and even after 2005, nobody.
No,
after
that's,
the
once we
register
got
or
going, nobody went back and looked at it or particularly thought about
And
it.
they mean something to the people who live in that subdivision, because they may have bought those properties, you know, in reliance on that, thinking that it was going to be.
We had that, I think we talked about it last meeting, we had a town meeting where we tried to do it once before,
Right.
Right.
and it got turned down by the town.
Yeah.
Right, because they did not agree, and again, my whole point was merely that this board has authority, you aren't prohibited by anything.
Yeah, no,
It's kind of strange the way it's laid out, looking at it now, it doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, it's just because of the way the roadway hits,
Yeah, Other
typically
than
you
to stop
throw
building on
those
those
things
two
in the right
parcels.
of way.
My guess is it was done strictly to stop the building on those two parcels.
I wouldn't
But
disagree
I don't
with
know
that.
that. I don't-
Because
I'm
it's
just
odd,
guessing.
because I think Y also has some of the storm water on it. And this, I believe this town accepts, right, in fee areas for the drainage basins? And then responsibility as well if they're on private property?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be in the subdivision.
So, and it's, those parcels are all burdened by, the storm.
There's also an easement for access to the small park cemetery? I don't know what
On
that's
the
about.
back, yeah, so when you come up, it's like a corner of Y. It's like not the whole thing, and it doesn't run through the whole thing.
Right.
Believe it or not, the access runs through, is it Gerzak or Wilmet's property? One of the two. Gerzak's. Now, which one is the one that has frontage on Haverhill? It's that one? Okay, so that's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah, the small park cemetery access goes down there.
All right, why
I-
don't we wait until the
Yeah.
12th, then we'll let the Conservation Commission,
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, make a decision and give us our written order, and then we'll move forward at that time, as the 12th, if the 12th is acceptable for
Thank you.
our meeting time.
Perfect, thank you so much, we appreciate your time.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Take care now.
Thank you.
Not meaning to be unduly loud. It has to be just a jar.
Just leave it open. a
Thank
little
you.
bit.
Patrick? Seven twenty-five, appointment, Highway Surveyor Patrick Snow to discuss contract extensions for roadway materials and services project. Highway Surveyor Patrick Snow is here tonight to discuss extending the contracts for the Highway Department road materials and services contracts. Contracts were issued to 6 contractors for 10 categories of work under the invitation to bid released this past summer. Each contract includes the provision that the town can extend the contract for 2 additional one-year terms if found to be in the best interest of the town. Pat Snow is recommending that all 10 contracts be extended. Pat?
Good evening, gentlemen. As you stated in the wording right there, I feel with the prices that we received last year in comparison to most of the towns around us, it's very fair pricing for all the construction that we're looking to do this upcoming construction season. And with us getting these signed, it'll allow us to schedule it earlier rather than later, and hopefully really take advantage of, if Mother Nature holds off, what would be a long construction season this year.
You doing a section of Newbury Road?
Yep.
Now, you're aware, I'm sure, that Sullivan's is doing a development in there,
We're
and
gonna coordinate with them as well.
Hart is doing a development next door to Sullivan's. I don't know if that, just to be aware that we don't want you paving and then them digging it up for water access, so. Other than that, I'll give you anybody else?
Any other comment?
No.
I'll give you a motion to extend those bids for the 6 contractors and 10 categories of work.
Motion has been made and seconded to extend the contracts, all 10 contracts.
Yep. All
those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks,
You guys have a
Patrick.
good night.
You too.
Thank you. How's it going?
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
The next appointment is with Principal Assessor Sean McFadden to discuss fiscal year 19 assessor's budget. And we see the expenses are level funded and wages and salaries meet guidelines.
That's it, yeah. No changes.
Any questions?
Nope.
Any questions? Have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the Assessors Department budget for fiscal year 19. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, Frank, we can move you up a little bit. We have the next appointment is with the Frank Masciani from the Health Services Coordinator, Health Department, February 23rd, Board of Health revolving funds. The Board of Health has a septic revolving fund. The purpose is to finance special waste disposal and technical expertise. The line has 1/2 of all septic disposal construction fees the Board of Health generates. This includes fees for the percolation testing, plan reviews, construction permits, and certificate of compliance for septic systems. The revolving fund has a limit of $20,000 for expenditures during a fiscal year. The amount was determined based on a worst-case scenario from average expenditures over the years. Board of Health has not used the entire amount for any one fiscal year. Is there some reason, do you want to change it or?
No, we want to keep it the same if we can.
Mr. Chairman, he was just submitting that as supplementary in case there were any questions on off-budget accounts.
Mhm. And again, your expenses are, show no increase, zero increase, wages are meeting the guidelines. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. I just got one question, Frank. On the bottom of the first memo, the Board of Health Septic Loan Revolving Fund.
Yep.
Could you just, for the public's and my information, explain how that works?
Sure. Yep. Let me see if I can try to explain it the best I can here. Yeah, we borrowed money back, we started this back in about 2000, 2001. Borrowed money from DEP to lend out to residents to fix failed septic systems. So, in total, we borrowed $1,250,000 over the years. We borrowed $500,000 back in 2000, 2001 when we started. And then in 2010, we borrowed another $750,000. And the reason, but we didn't take it in all at once. The first $500,000, there were two drawdowns, one in 2000, 2001 of $75,000, and in about 2005, $125,000. There is no interest on this money. We just have to pay back the principal. So it's a really.
So this is if you need a septic system replacement, you can go to the Board of Health.
Exactly.
Is there a limit on how much you can borrow?
No limit.
But it has to be a failed
It has to be a
system.
failed system.
Has to be a failed system, and then and you pay it back with your tax bill. Is that the way
Yeah,
I understand?
exactly. It's a 2% loan for 20 years, and it goes right on your tax bill, and
Okay.
it's taken up from there. It's also not for commercial properties
strictly
or
private
for
only.
expansions of a
Right.
septic system. It has to be
Replacement of a
replacement of the
failed
same
system.
in kind.
All right, no, thank you very much. Just for informational purposes, that's
Yep.
all. I'm not concerned about it otherwise. I was just
Um,
interested.
Yeah, and like I said, we didn't draw down the entire amount all at once. It was in, increments of, 300,000.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm
Okay.
satisfied. I just want to know how the program ran, in case my system failed.
In a nutshell, that's pretty much it. We, every year, we pay back, right now, $63,439 to the state.
Okay.
The first drawdown will be finished in 2020, which will drop at $3,900.
Okay, good. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Motion? You made the motion?
I made the
You second?
Looks like Larry.
Oh, Larry?
Just a quick reminder to Frank that at tomorrow's fiscal meeting, there might be some questions on his revolving accounts. I don't know what they'll be, but, or if there will be any, but just to have him be aware that there might be some questions.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the budget for the health services and regulatory compliance, a health department budget for fiscal year 19. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit ahead of my appointment times. Ms. Egan, can I skip to the 8:15?
I would say that would not be an approximate time, and we're waiting for them to come.
Okay,
Mr.
let's go to general
O'Connor is
business.
not here.
Okay, general business, number one, invitation to from the Independent Living Center of the North Shore in Cape Ann and the Greater North Shore Link for the 31st Legislative Breakfast on Friday, April 13th. Hi, Chief.
Hi.
2018. Please see the attached invitation. The office staff will RSVP on behalf of the selectmen who wish to attend this event. I have attended legislative breakfasts with the Independent Living Center of the North Shore in Cape Ann in the past. Unfortunately, this is the day after my cataract surgery, and I will not be able to attend, because I will be in the doctor's office that morning. Is there anybody who will be available?
Yeah, I can't make it.
Friday the 13th?
It's unlucky.
This has to be a year where the dates just worked out perfectly. You know, Valentine's Day was Ash Wednesday, April 1st is All Fool's Day, is Easter Sunday, and Friday the 13th is legislative breakfast.
I can't make it.
Bob? No?
What's that?
Could you make the breakfast?
Can I make the breakfast? No.
Okay, so unfortunately,
We'll
we're
sign
not
it to
available.
Bob Snow, he's not here.
No, they are a good group, and and we have supported them in the past, and if it went further, my operation, I'd be happy to be there. General business number 2, discuss notice of town meeting location change approved by town moderator Joan Peterson. The attached notice regarding the location change for town meeting has been approved by moderator Joan Peterson. This is being published in the March and April COA, Council on Aging newsletters. We think it would be helpful to also publish this notice as follows. On the town web page, definitely, on the Raleigh Community Media channels, and as an insert to the electric bills. Are there any other places that the board would like this notice published? I would suggest that possibly we might ask the Raleigh Pharmacy to have a notice published, posted there.
I recommend one change.
Yes.
The moderator's notice. Could we put the time on there at 7 PM? Remember last year was the first year we actually met at 7:30, I think. The one thing that here, it doesn't say what time the meeting is.
Yes.
So for the ones that are gonna go on the web and the community media and the electric bills in particular,
Yes.
if we could add the time on there,
The time of
7 o'clock
7
PM
o'clock.
would be. And don't tell anybody that I was the one that made the suggestion.
Please vote to authorize this notice to be published as suggested, with the revision. Have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to authorize that the notice be published as suggested with the amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that town meeting will take place in the gymnasium at the Pine Grove School. And we have see, we took care of those two. New business, number 1, review the site plan application filed by Margaret Ruth Foundation, LLC, for North Shore Montessori School, 121 Weathersfield Street. The Board of Selectmen has received a copy of a planning board site plan application for the North Shore Montessori School driveway and parking plan. Police Chief Scott Dumas also included the Board of Selectmen on his response to this application. Attached are the following: the site plan, copy of the application, comments from the Police Chief Scott Dumas. Does the board have any comments they wish to send to the planning board on this application? See if I can find the letter.
know they were before the planning board. Did the planning board ever make a final decision
No.
on what the status is? I know there was
You mean
a,
recently?
yeah, that, they,
No, they haven't been before the planning board recently. They filed an application.
okay, is that where it's, I mean, what's the status of, I guess, is my question.
Well, like, they came in before the first part, I don't know if it's the elementary school or the preschool, was, they came in for an informal meeting.
Right.
And we told them to file an application. This is going back years ago. And then we never heard from them. And so somehow this school got approved and built. And now they want to expand it. And they're now before the ZBA.
Oh, the ZBA is where they are.
Okay, so the
Okay.
ZBA apparently has continued it to allow the planning board to do a quote-unquote parking review. So I'm very concerned about this. When you look at the site plan, the access drive and the parking looks positively scary, unless I'm misreading something. And the chief has opined on this as well, about your concerns with the access. And also, when you read the application and the attorney's letter that's attached to the application, you get the impression that all they think that this is going to the planning board is for parking review, which in other words, the number of parking spaces. And I would say that's incorrect. The planning board does not do parking reviews. It does site plan reviews, of which parking is one component. In other words, I don't think there should be any limitations on the scope of the planning board's review. It should be able to look at parking and the various access issues, as well as stormwater management and other factors that it usually does. So if we're going, the selectman is going to make a comment to the planning board on this, I think that might be an appropriate comment to conduct a full-scale appropriate site plan review of the project. Because I don't think we're just going to do a parking review. We're not just going to look at the number of parking spaces.
Okay, if I could, just let me to read the email from Chief Scott A. Dumas. Subject, the North Shore Montessori School. Looking at the plan, I have two primary concerns. The first concern is the bottleneck that would be created by any required emergency response to the school. Any fire alarm or other emergency, police, fire, and perhaps ambulance is going to respond to the school. We each have independent responsibilities, the first being life safety. For either of us to be hampered by entry to the site is not acceptable to me, especially considering we are talking about a school environment. The second concern is actually just the day-to-day vehicular traffic in a residential area crossing a sidewalk onto a residential street. I think it puts a burden on the area. Scott A. Dumas, Chief of Police, Raleigh. Chief, any further comment? Or?
No, that pretty much sums it up. It's the vehicular traffic, again, looking at the site plan, they get all those parking spots towards the back of the school, to the back of the site plan. There's one narrow road that goes up that's only passable by one vehicle at a time. Even just the day-to-day congestion coming in and out of vehicles, non-emergency response is gonna cause some traffic issues. And then you have the sidewalk that they have to cross coming in, going out, and out on that residential road. That's just the day-to-day stuff. Any emergency response type thing, if a police car has to respond up there, or an ambulance or a fire truck, either one could be hampered by entrance into that site, the way it's laid out, the way it's planned.
And it looks like they're proposing that the cars would queue along that driveway.
Yeah, well, right now, it doesn't look as though they'd have to do some work, or I don't know. I drove up there beside the plate, I saw that as well, but right now it's not designed that way. Right now, it's just room for one vehicle. I don't know if that's part of it or not. Even with that, though, it's still a concern.
I guess, my concern is with the driveway is with Mr. Sabatini's issue of the width of the driveway for the fire department access.
Right.
And obviously, this is a school with small children.
I
I guess our concerns are the width and the public safety access. I find it hard to believe that, if there was a serious incident up there, one vehicle blocks that access, and it's all shut down. And if you need to get, say, 2 fire trucks up there with a parking lot full, you can have a problem, so.
I don't think 2 fire trucks should fit up here.
Probably not. I go by it. I've never driven into it, but you go by it all the time, and it's a tough, it's a tough spot in a tight-knit neighborhood there. I mean, there's not a lot of space, so.
Any other comment?
I would recommend that we at least let the
Bernie?
planning board know that we're concerned about it.
I live on Weathersfield Street at 283, and the road down there is, it's narrow. So any cars parking on either side of Weathersfield Street is going to create a problem, and the volume of traffic on Weathersfield Street is actually fairly significant now. It didn't used to be when we first moved there, but now my wife complains about it all the time during the summer. Secondly, when we looked at the Georgia Marcus's estate, when they were putting that in, Weathersfield Street has some very peculiar, it's a winding country road, and that means sight lines are pretty tricky. And the cars are moving down that street very, it's the rare car that actually is at or under the speed limit. Let me put it that way, except me, I'm always under the speed limit. Trust me, I'm not like the rest. And so so the sight lines and the speed become a really big issue, and the road is curvy, and I think it's a. I mean, I know where the entrance to that school is, and it's tricky because there's a junction that is not far from it as well. So it's a traffic nightmare as far as I can imagine. So besides the width of getting emergency vehicles in there, if they're queued up, there's nowhere for them to go. I mean, the whole street is going to be closed down.
Yes, sir.
Mark Fish, I'm the neighbor, 129 Weathersfield Street,
Okay.
directly abutting to this business that went in next door. This would take me a long time to give a dissertation about the problems associated with this business, which I know we're not specifically here for all that, but in terms of the total site plan review, if I could just try to make an impression as to the totality of the necessary changes in order for us to preserve our privacy and to try to retain somewhat our quiet residential neighborhood that we've had for the 65 years of my living on that property. That's 65 years I've lived there, and this is a disaster as far as the quietness, the privacy, to go towards the hard work that I've enjoyed on that property, and now that I've retired, attempting to enjoy the fruits of my labor. So I'll say this all to say that the property is elevated. They have sight lines of visually adults, children, as well as noise to come down into my property visually to see down into our entire property. I've gotten letters from the school telling me to clean up my property, letters from their attorneys telling me I can't do this and I can't do that because it's an invasion of their civil rights and this, that, and the other thing, suffering and dignities that I feel have been inflicted upon me. But without getting in for a tit for a tat, there should be some sort of mitigation on this business to alleviate the problem associated with the invasion of my privacy. Their advertisement on their webpage uses my property in their advertising as a quaint, rustic, rural location with my barn and house in the background. Okay? Meanwhile, I've gotten a letter, like I said, from their attorneys forbidding me to take pictures or any recordings of decibel levels, anything to sort of protect myself from what I see as an ever-expanding business that has been continuing to evolve and grow over the years, unlicensed, by the town in a manner that I consider to be fraudulent, okay? So, in viewing this site plan, there should be a lot of changes to that property to alleviate some of the invasiveness that I consider to be an infringement on my family attempting to enjoy my backyard without having dozens and perhaps 100 kids yelling and screaming all day long. Okay, this is stuff that's on top of the safety issues that the chief has enumerated, and I attempted to enumerate at various planning board meetings and so forth, but I don't know if we're really gonna get anywhere or solve this, that readily, but at least I appreciate you hearing me out and know that this is a very difficult situation. Okay? I've been accused of trespassing on their property, when in fact I have pictures of them trespassing on my property. So you see, I'm being accused of things that I've had perpetrated against me. So it's been a very degrading experience, and I just hope this whole project is reined in somehow so that I don't have some sort of skyscraper, educational monolith expanding and being continued to be built up there with buildings and just untold amounts of personnel going in and out of there every day. It's humiliating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Has the foundation already been poured for the addition? It's the foundation?
There was some work going on there, yeah. That's sort of what precipitated my investigation into this, was the fact that they have been licensed for 20 students as a daycare center in the beginning, and as time went on, it started to evolve into something more than what I thought it was licensed for, because in my conversations with the building inspector, he told me that I wasn't notified of a business going into the neighborhood because it's a daycare center, and daycare centers are basically given free rein to go into communities and neighborhoods, basically wherever they want, assuming that they meet, criteria of the town. But they immediately went into a building expansion and started bringing in more grades. So it went from daycare, preschool, to first grade, then second grade, then third grade, and then started to build last year with the intention of expanding it up through grade 6 for an entire elementary school with a septic design that accommodated over 100 people. So that's when, because I was in a building project of my own, my conversation with the building inspector says, "Are you sure that's what's going on?" And when he checked on it, he found out they were in non-compliant with their status in the town as far as being licensed for a daycare center, and now we're operating a school. So the answer to the question is there was some site work done. I don't know exactly what it is because I don't go up there. It's not my property. So, but the building inspector stopped that latest expansion because they were in violation of their licensing, and that's when this whole matter started to go forward onto town boards in order to work their way through the proper licensing now that they were found to be in violation. So that's how I ended up getting drawn up into it.
Thank you.
I guess my concern, Mr. Chairman, is that I read in their application, limited impact from replacement of existing gravel drive with a paved driveway, addition of gravel spaces. If you look at their site plan, C1.0, I know it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but it's one driveway width going in there at this point.
Yes.
So the plan here shows that there's a car going in and a car going out, so they're adding, at Weathersfield Street, they're adding another whole lane. But as you go up further, it narrows down because of a building that's there. And then they're proposing at the other side of the building that traffic coming out, there's a sign that would say yield to oncoming traffic. So obviously that location could only, although the rest of the property is 2 lanes up in there and 2 lanes coming in and out, you got a bottleneck right in the middle. I would echo the chief's comments, at least in terms of notifying the planning board that it's just a poor a poor setup. I don't see how you can have a road, a driveway with a school with, I don't know how many kids they're planning, you say 100, I don't know how many they're talking about, but, and then have it bottlenecked to a one lane for emergency vehicles, and if you get an emergency at a time when students are getting picked up or dropped off,
Could be horrific.
there's gonna be a mess there, so I would say if we forward those, something to that effect on those comments, I think that's what, you know, the rest of it is, he says, you know, that's part of the stuff that the planning board will have to listen to, but I mean, in terms of us for recommendations, you know, our concern is safety, traffic safety, and I think the chief did a good job of outlining it.
I mean, they don't say anything in their application or in their letter, but it seems like they're doubling the size of the facility, as far as I can tell. There's an existing single-story building shown, and to the right of that, it seems like that's the new building, and that's a 100% increase, I would say. So it's a major, you know, expansion of the facility.
Well, the description in the application doesn't really match the drawing.
No, it doesn't.
They've
That's what I
attached.
mean.
You
It seems
know,
like they only want, they're expecting that the planning board's only gonna look at parking spaces, but that's, you know, that can't happen, obviously.
You have a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have a comment actually for Cliff. Earlier you mentioned, you used the word queued up. You were talking about in relation to cars. What does that mean, queued up?
Well, the parents would be waiting in line along the driveway to drop their kids off. But I don't know if that's their intention. Their plan, which actually shows a line of cars along the driveway, that seems to be what they're saying, but I'm not sure.
I just didn't know what the phrase
Yeah.
meant, queued up. So it's-
See, they're showing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're showing about 20 cars on the drawing. So if they meet that bottleneck, for every car that goes in, the other cars have to wait for another car to
Yeah.
come out, and then they take turns going in, and they take turns coming out.
You got emergency vehicles trying to get in at the same
To me,
time.
it doesn't seem
The
like a,
problem is that bottleneck is in the middle.
yeah,
So it's a good 25, 50 feet up, once you've already made entrance
Right.
in there, and then
And
there's no
you're
place to
stuck.
go.
yeah, no, it's just a poor setup, I think, you know, to handle that much traffic, let alone it's the type of neighborhood it's in, is really, it kind of crept up there based on the state laws, and
Oh.
so on, in the town bylaw that, you know, echoes the state law. So that, because I did go to the zoning board of appeals hearing, that's the one, I couldn't remember which one it was, but, you know, there's a lot of concern there, so. But from our perspective, legal perspective, I think the exit and entrance is a real critical issue for public safety purposes.
One more comment, for
Right, so if there are 100, if it's for 100 children, then you can guarantee there's gonna be between 50 and 100 cars going in there within essentially a 15-minute time window. And you, I mean, I'm just adding some numbers to the concerns that you've already raised. That's a lot of cars.
Did you make the motion with your stipulations?
Well, I make the motion that we send a letter to the planning board raising our concerns about the access issues as you know, highlighted by the chief, and request that they look into those seriously.
Look into all of the issues, not just,
Right.
I'll second.
all right. Motion has been made and seconded. Any comment? Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we will send that information to the planning board.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you.
Okay. New business number, police chief. Gotta take care of the police chief.
Right there, right? Skip Frank, though. Oh, you already went?
Okay, members of the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee attaches a copy of the proposed fiscal year 19.
FY 19. Yeah,
FY19 Police Department budget.
typo, right off the bat, thanks, Jim.
Sorry about that, Chief.
Now we get an excuse to reject it.
You're on.
Okay. Just good, you need me to move up a seat, we're all set, right here?
Yeah, you're okay.
So on the, way I put the budget together, I tried to do an overall summary sheet. Most of the information and changes is outlined in the summary memo. It's supposed to say FY19, it says FY18, police budget, department budget. The direction through the town was to, the board of selectmen was to level fund it, and for the most part, other than contractual obligations that had been level funded through the expenses. We do have a significant increase in salaries this year, and that is due to Mass Cops having settled their contract finally with them. So the overall budget increase to the budget, $131,480 requested. The majority of that is through department increase with the contract through Mass Cops. That has been somewhat decreased, offset by the $24,000 that we previously had to put in for the trailers, rentals, units there, which has been removed from the budget, so. The budget memo, pretty much is self-explanatory. The few things I did want to highlight was the expenses. Again, as stated, the direction from the Board of Selectmen was to level fund the budget, but in operational expense lines, but there are some things in the expense lines that I had to increase. Some of them were basic functions that we have, such as our records management system, which is IMC, increased by $650. That's our records management system. It goes up every year incrementally in different things. This year was $650 increase. The other thing is the accreditation aspect. Raleigh's been accredited for over 20 years, and they, as a result, they belong to the Massachusetts Association of Police Accredited Commission, MPAC. Their dues went up this year for the first time, I think 13 years, went up $250, which is reflected in my budget. NEMLEC also went up for $175 increase. Northeast Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council, which that we have belonged to for several years. Again, it's just a dues increase, $175. The one thing that was not in the budget last year, $638, is a software program. It's called PMAM. PMAM is something that we did a trial period on last year. It's for its accreditation. It helps us manage our software, policies and procedures. Through the accreditation process, what we do every 3 years, the police department gets reassessed and reaccredited. And when they come in here, they look at your policies and procedures, and we have a couple hundred policies and procedures that we have in place. They look at those, they see what you have to put together what's called proofs. You know, so here's my policy, this is what my policy says, I have to have proofs that's what my practice reflects, and the assessment team comes in here and does that. Throughout the course of the 3 years in between accreditations, we have to put those proofs together and demonstrate that aspect of it. We also test our officers in different components. This PMAM software is used by many of the departments that are accredited, and it's very helpful. It also allows us to track other things, such as emergency contact information for officers, any recertifications that need to take place. It's all a one-stop shop. So I thought it was worth the $638 in the budget, and that's one of those issues and options that we're requesting. Another thing that was not in our budget last year that we had to absorb this year is $2,157 was the yearly cost of maintenance fee for the live scan. 3 years ago, through a grant, the police department was able to get a live scan. Live scan is what fingerprints folks at the police department. The yearly maintenance fees, that's a cost. I attached the bills. It's broken down as far as what the exact costs are, what they're charging you for. Some of it's hardware, some of it's software. But this is something that was paid for up until last year out of the grant. Now we need to absorb the maintenance fees, and this is what the cost of the maintenance fee is. And the last thing on the expense line that I wanted to talk about, and I've talked with Debbie a little bit about this, might be some consideration in going town-wide with this, and that's the social archive. We all have a social media footprint now, Facebook, just the website, information that we post on the website. Well, we're supposed to, those are all public records. If we as a public entity post something on that, whether it's a school outing or it might be something informational on that, as far as the police department's concerned, we might put information out on a, maybe like the egg caper, when we had the egg caper, that was considered a public record. It helped us, learn who did it, but if someone was to request the information that we put out there, we have to have a way to maintain that. And we're required to maintain those electronic, public records was, actually includes electronic component of it. So right now, we have no way to archive that. And this particular company is a company that I used in my previous employment. There's others out there, it doesn't have to be this one. This is just one that reached out and I got a quote from, but they're all gonna be about the same. I mean, it's been very successful, the Archive Social. So that is in there, but easily removed as far as the expenses. It's figured into my budgetary presentation that I put in there. The one last thing I wanted to talk to you about, again, it comes with issues and options. This is not figured into my overall expenses, but it was something that we talked about last year, both at the Board of Selectmen, but also with the, in the FinCom meeting, and it got support from the Board of Selectmen as far as, this positive support, yeah, there was a need, as well as the Finance Committee, and that was the addition to an additional sergeant, for the police department. It's not a new person, a new body, but it is a new position that I'd be looking to promote, a person within the police department. Right now, our shifts are designed 3 shifts per week, and I lack supervision on the overnight shift 5 days a week, and on the 3 to 12 shift, or 3 to 11 shift, 3 days a week. The additional sergeant will allow me to have 100% coverage on the midnights and 100% coverage on the 3 to 11 shift by adding that one additional person. It's estimated to cost $23,000 and change is what I think I put in there for the issues and option. That was based upon the 15% contractual difference between the patrolman and the sergeant. It's also based upon the differential, which is also contractual. This would be a midnight sergeant for midnight shift, so they get 8.5% differential on that. And the estimated overtime cost based upon my 2 sergeants that they're working now. I took 2 of them, averaged it together, and come up with an estimated cost. So it's a pretty fair assessment. Close cost is what the $23,000 would be. $23,000 and change.
So this is just promoting from within.
Promoting from within, yes. And like I said, not an additional person, just an additional position. One thing I want to emphasize, it's not, right now I have 2 sergeants in the police department, the area departments that we have. Newbury has 3, Georgetown 4, Ipswich 5, I believe, are the 3 that are around here. So it's, it's, as you know, policing is becoming a lot more complicated, and my department is getting younger. We've had some retirements, and it's a lot more complicated profession. It's a lot more liability, and to have that right now, they're picking up the phone on midnights, which is fine. But I think my captain's he likes to sleep at night too sometimes, But to have a trained supervisor being able to make those decisions for the town, for the police department, I think is an investment worth taking. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Just one question, Chief, on that. You got $9,640 for the officer in charge. If you get
yes, okay.
If you get the sergeant, you could cut that in half for that, or is that all figured in already?
No. That would be reduced significantly, because right now I have to. Again, with the new contract, there's an officer in charge stipend that these officers get. That number, that $9,000 number, was based on no sergeant in place and the number of shifts that I had to cover last year. So that would be significantly reduced with the sergeant.
Any other comment?
No. Yeah, it's one of those things that's difficult. I remember we talked about it last year, the additional sergeant, and I think with we got a real young department now compared to what we had a couple of 3 years ago.
Last year, right, it's got a lot, even from last year.
We've lost a number of people, and I think it's, from a police perspective, in my experience, it's, you see what's going on around the area, it's critical that we have some person responsible to supervise what's going on. An officer in charge is nice, but it really doesn't fulfill the role of what a sergeant would be, plus you get other duties and things like that. So,
Right.
as much as we hate to see the budget increase, and this is one of those essential areas that it's for our own protection, for public safety purposes, and it's not outlandish, for sure. It's just tight budget times, and we should see if we can absorb this. I'm not sure. We don't have all our budget numbers in, but I think it's worthwhile adopting that third sergeant, because I think it would be beneficial to the town and to the department. But
I know it's not the best year to do it, especially with the assessment that's hanging over our head from Triton, but like how, reiterate what you said, it is this decision-making process that needs to take place. And sometimes that OIC, an OIC is nice, and I'll train the OIC, not like we would a sergeant, but sometimes that OIC is a reserve officer.
yeah,
It's
and the budget's not going to get any better next year from the looks of things. So I think if we can try and bite the bullet. Hey, at the end, if we have to cut budgets, that may be something we'll cut out, but I would like to see it included at this point in time. Things are going to get real tight, I do believe.
Mr. Chairman, if we consider maybe making things just tentatively approved until we really know what we face, after the school committee takes, their decision and their vote.
Because
Right.
the key is going to be an override. I mean, we're going to have to put an override in for, assuming that the school budget comes out anywhere near what they're talking about assessing us, in the area of $1 million, a little under $1 million, maybe it might be a little bit less than that in the end. And we're talking about an override for somewhere, give or take, $800,000. So if that passes, I would say you'll get your sergeant. If it doesn't pass, then
Right.
we'll have to come back and look at where we're gonna make cuts, and obviously that'll probably be one of the first ones, I think, because it's tough to cut your department, because if we read the newspaper and look at the police reports, and a lot of people in town have scanners, and a lot of serious incidents in town the last couple of years, and to have one officer by himself out there on a night shift or an evening shift is totally unacceptable. I mean, we can't do that. And,
the days of running one man
can't do
crews,
it.
you can't do.
we're probably lucky to get by with two in many cases. So I mean, it's something I think, I'd recommend that we tentatively adopt the chief's budget as presented. Those other couple of little things on there are stuff that just make it easier to daily living.
The 23,000 is not in my presented budget. That would be an increase, so that would take an affirmative action to add that into.
So that'll be an additional,
Add into what I presented, because I did not include that in what I presented.
Right.
So, Mr. Chairman, if the chief revises that budget and so he submits it, we'll have it ready for his meeting tomorrow night with the finance committee.
yeah, once you resubmit, I'll make a motion that we adopt the budget as presented with a revision by the chief to add the sergeant position in, and take into account the change in the OIC amounts.
And everything is contingent upon adding up the final numbers.
Right,
Right.
so you don't have to bother coming back.
Second? Second. Bernie?
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure on a couple of things. One is the 131,000 increase, that's what percentage increase on the total? It sounded like salary and wages and salaries payment. So 131 on what?
That's the overall increases, total.
Right, but what is it currently? What's the percentage increase on last year?
Well, the contract's 2.25%.
Sorry?
The contract increase with the cops settlement is 2.25%, and then there's all little, some other little odds and ends
He's
in
asking for
there.
the overall percentage increase between last year and this year, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
I can do some quick math on that, I don't have the
This
number.
year it's 1,305,000.
Look at all the salary
No salary is like,
Yeah,
numbers, about 10%.
overall.
looks like about 10% increase.
It's less than 10.
Yeah.
It's close.
Is it 10% would be 155,000?
It's 131 over 1, so.
Based on fiscal year 18 appropriation.
1.55.
No, it's 131 on 1355, so it's about 9.5%.
9.5.
What's the contract, what's the cost for the next couple of years? Because after the experience with Triton, these things can creep up and they have a sting in their tail.
So, so we're out of, this is the last year of the contract, believe it or not. They just settled and we'll be back at the negotiation table.
That's good to know. And how long are the contracts, if and as when we get
Generally
one?
go
3 years?
3 years, yeah.
Right.
So there'll be an article, Mr. Chairman, for the retroactive on the special town meeting. This will be for the 19 budget, which is year 3 of that contract.
Yeah, so actually, when you're talking the increase here, you're talking, this is the second year.
So there's a compounding because
Right.
it's the chief had to do, we actually went back and set the pay grids for fiscal 17-18 this year, and then it goes to 19. So you're working off fiscal 16
Right.
Numbers.
rates.
Number.
and
That's why it's
things.
such a big, that's why it's such
Yeah,
a
so
big.
it's-
No, again, I
Just so
understand.
people understand, it's not 1 year at 10%, 9.5, it's going into the third year of a contract in which we had extended bargaining, so it's a, say, 3% a year rather than,
Correct.
and that includes pay raises plus little pennies here and there that increases educational money or some of those kinds of things, so.
Yeah, so you're not gonna see it in the 19 budget, but
Right.
there will be in the special town meeting, the 18 adjustment for 17 and 18.
Yep. Motion has
Yeah,
been made,
I
second.
made the motion.
Yes, it is.
Second.
Thanks for making it, Brian.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, Larry.
No, that's just a quick reminder to the chief that we might have some questions tomorrow on your revolving account.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know what they'll be or if there will be any, but just be aware of it, that's all.
I
Sorry.
plan to answer every question you have, Larry.
Trust him, he's not like the others.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. We have an 8:15 appointment, and I'm almost on time. Edward Iacono, Senior of Atlantic Auto Solutions, and Frank Ivanella of James Price, doing business as Carolines, to discuss the following Class 2 dealer licenses at 185 Newburyport Turnpike, location change of Atlantic Auto Solutions. The Board of Selectmen has issued a Class 2 licenses that expire on January 1st, 2019 as follows. Copy of licenses are attached. 264 Newburyport Turnpike, Edward Iacono, Senior of Atlantic Auto Solutions, 60-car limit. 185 Newburyport Turnpike, Frank Avanello of James Price, Inc., doing business as Caroline's, 42-car limit. Edward Iacono, Senior, doing business as Atlantic Auto Solutions, has submitted the attached letter explaining why he wishes to move his business from 264 to 185 Newburyport Turnpike. He has applied to split the license at 185 Newburyport Turnpike for a 42-car limit as follows: 30 cars for Edward Iacono Senior, doing business as Atlantic Auto Solutions; 12 cars for Frank Avanello of James Price, Inc., doing business as Carlines. We do not have a written request from Mr. Ivanello regarding the split of the license, and the board should confirm this with him. Approved. Following steps will be taken. Amy will prepare the new licenses with new limits for the 185 Newburyport Turnpike, which will be ready for signature tomorrow afternoon. Mr. Dell'Icono will need to amend his $25,000 used car dealer bond to reflect the new business location prior to the release of the new license. Mr. Dell'Icono will need to turn in his license for 264 Newburyport Turnpike before the new license at 185 Newburyport Turnpike is released to him. Sir? Mr. Dell'Icono?
Yes, sir. there was no way that I could continue business at 264 when I was told that I wasn't going to be able to occupy the building. If you recall, we were in a temporary office trailer. Okay? And it wasn't the best timing, but the opportunity with Mr. Ivanella came, and it was either make the move now or make the move later. I chose now.
I think, yep,
So,
sounds pretty reasonable to me.
so this has been like musical chairs out there.
It has.
I mean, not your fault, but it's just a matter, so you were down at this location before, right?
Correct.
You know, where,
Where, at the 185?
Yeah, were you,
No.
that was someone else?
No, that was D&D.
D&D moved over
D&D
to.
moved, but they're out of business now, right?
No.
No, they're still in
D&D 's
business
Still in
down at
business.
274.
not. They're next to this location.
So you were right, you were at Gino's where the auto body shop is, or the front part of that, where the auto body, is that you?
When we first applied for the license at 264,
Yeah.
the old Allstate,
Okay, the old Allstate.
that they abandoned the property.
Right.
We were told that you couldn't issue that license while it was still actually in the possession of the former operator there.
Okay.
So what we did is, what you did for me is allow an existing 7-car license that Gino's had there to be transferred to me until the first of the year. And then the first of the year, that 264 was transferred to me. We had applied for a permit for a temporary office trailer to be set up adjacent to the 264. And the plan was for me to move into the 264 once the license was issued. Apparently there was a commitment made, there was a temporary commitment, I was originally told it was 90 days, and then I would be in the building, which was fine with me. And apparently there's been some other commitments made by the landowner to prospective tenants that was going to preclude me from moving into the building until the summer. And I don't know this, but the way it was presented to me, would not be able to operate out of 264. Okay. So my building was actually at 274. The business is licensed at 264. Didn't seem real kosher to me. Okay. So,
Definitely confusing.
yeah.
where is 185?
185 is the corner of Route 1 and 133 across from the Agawam.
Oh, okay, they used to do car sales there.
Yes.
That's where the Price, you're gonna split that with the Price garage?
With Mr. Ivanella, the license, yes. And it's my understanding that that license was split there for some time. I don't know what the split was.
Yeah, I think everybody's trying to hold on to a piece of something.
I'm just trying to get a,
You're trying to get a
long-term
permanent
home.
location. Well, do we have anything from the Price car lines that they're, in other words,
Yes,
is
sir,
some,
I'm here.
oh, you're here.
Ivanella is present.
I thought that was you.
Enjoying all this.
What's your name, just for the record?
Frank Ivanella.
Okay.
The principal.
So you're okay with this?
Yes, I think it's gonna work out good. I took possession of the property back from D&D at the end of
Right.
October. If you saw, I painted the outside
Yeah.
again. The inside was a mess. I went in and
Yeah, it looks good on the outside.
had
Yeah.
it painted again, and one of the things Ed's agreeing with me on, you know, we wanna keep the lot clean and organized and not hoard stuff, if you know what I'm saying. So
Mhm.
it looks real good right now, and it's gonna stay compliant. And that's one of the things he's assured me he will do. Ed sells a little bit of a lower price car than what I typically do, so I agreed, that would be a good idea. He can put more of the cheaper cars, because there's a demand for the younger people with that. And I'll leave the higher dollar cars, which I have there now, you know, the 14s, 15s, and 16s. So it'll be a nice blend, so we're hoping to sell to, you know, younger kids, and then their parents, and maybe the grandparents, you know, a wide range. And place is all cleaned up inside and fresh paint, like I said. So I'm here to give my confirmation to this. And again, I enjoyed your presentation, Chairman, because it's like the last time I was here, you cover everything. There's almost nothing to discuss. I mean, you cover it all.
Thank you.
The other thing I want to add, if I may, I've been in Topsfield all my life, but I enjoyed the presentation tonight from the police chief, and I really agree, I'm just talking as an outside resident here, about putting the other sergeant on. In the 17 years that I've been affiliated up here, never once had a car stolen, a car vandalized, nothing. Okay, and they patrol, I think, very well. I think the place is, there's a lot of area to cover in Raleigh, as well as there is in Ipswich and Topsfield. And they all have the support staff that he's talking about. And I'm actually hoping you can get that done, because I think that's important to the community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So,
When am I buying you dinner?
Right after this, we'll both make it.
I only get the aggle one.
Thanks, Chief.
you stayed long enough, Chief. That was a good, well timed. All right, so we need a motion to, what should the motion be, Debbie, here, so we're not,
So,
Based on your meeting,
to avoid
the,
any confusion.
And we also want to just put
The
the
steps.
caveat that, you know, Mr. Delacona already paid his $200 fee, so I would presume in this motion to approve this request, to transfer Atlantic Auto Solutions to 185 Newburyport Turnpike, and with the condition that he amend his bond and turn in his license for $264, and that you waive the $200 fee that he already
It'll be for 42 cars.
for 40,
No, we need-
30 cars.
30 cars, I'm sorry, 30 cars.
30
Mr.
cars, because you
Avenella
have
has
12.
12.
Right, well, I'll have to turn mine in
Oh.
also.
I'll make that motion.
You don't have to turn it yours unless you want it.
We'll
The new one. The new one for car line.
We need another, well, actually, we got to first,
Oh,
we
why
got
don't we do Atlantic Auto?
we're doing that
and
now,
then
we
we'll
got a
do-
motion and a second. We'll vote on that one, I guess, Joe.
okay. We have a motion to approve the transfer,
Just say it.
264 to 185 for Atlantic Auto,
right,
and for a 30-car limit,
right, and to waive the $200 fee.
to request that he amend his used car dealer bond to reflect a new address,
Right,
to turn in his license for 264,
right.
and to waive the $200 fee.
That's my motion. Second it.
Second? Second. Second.
Don't try to repeat it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Now, do you need a motion to reduce the other one on Frank's from,
To reissue the car lines, James Price Inc., car lines
12 cars?
to 12 cars from 42.
I'll give you that motion.
Second.
You're agreeable?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Ivanello will turn in his license, and we have the new replacement one.
Okay.
Boy,
All
his-
those-
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
His was so much easier.
Sometimes they are.
Well, I hope we don't see any more car dealers moving around till next December, when it comes time to renew
I
all
hope
the
everything
licenses.
works out for you over there.
It's been an
Okay.
interesting season, that's for sure.
To approve the change to 12 cars for Mr. Vanilla. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very
You
much.
have to turn in your,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, gentlemen.
Thank you, working out with the staff. Good luck.
Okay. We are at new business. As soon as I find my folder.
Yeah, no,
We've done number one.
number 2.
Number 2, discuss town administrator contract renewal. Debbie has updated her contract. Nothing has materially changed in the document. If the board is in agreement, the board can vote to approve and sign 2 originals, which are in my folder.
You'd like to make a statement, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Peterson.
And I don't want to embarrass the town administrator, but I'm going to reluctantly vote for the contract. But I say that because I seriously think that she should get a raise. I know it's tough times, so I'm gonna accept the contract as it is, but in the last 2 years or 3 years I've been on the board, and going back to when we did the bridges back years ago, Debbie wrote all the specs for the bridges, all the engineering specs with help from some other people, but she does an unbelievable job, and I'm sure you guys will all agree. The last two years, or going back 3 years probably, we've got the school building project. She's on that committee. We've got the police fire station. She's on that committee. We have all the work that's been done at the annex on getting the elevator stuff in. And she's done all that with assistance from the office staff, but I mean, she's spearheaded all that extra work. I mean, she's here Saturdays, she's here at nights. She goes to committee meetings at night with the school. You got another year and a half probably anyway.
At least.
2 years of that. The police station hopefully will be done by next year at this time. But I mean, this employee just does an unbelievable amount of work. And if you look at what she's paid compared to other positions in other towns, she's well underpaid. And I would have to say that, you know, in other words, I understand the budget situation, so I'm going to reluctantly accept the fact that she's going to take just the regular yeoman's raise. But I think at some point next year, if we can, give her a bonus or do something, because she certainly deserves it. And I work with her on the personnel board. I mean, she's into everything, and there isn't anything that doesn't get done, and we all know how complete she doesn't leave anything to chance, and she just deserves our accolades and our. I'd like to give her something more. Obviously, at this point, we really can't do it. But you know, I just want to congratulate her on the work she does and the leadership she provides the office staff here and the work they all do. I mean, this office, the amount of work that gets put out here is just it's incredible, especially in these busy times with all these building projects and all this other stuff that we have going. It's not a normal workplace in here for the last 2 years, and it's not going to be a normal workplace for the next 2, just because of the project we got going. And right now, everything is moving along smoothly, and that's because Miss Egan has done a fantastic job of organizing things and getting the paperwork done. And I see her we meet weekly with the contractors for the police station, which is just getting underway, and she does all the paperwork for that. She advises me when, you know, keeps me up to date on everything I need to, all the technical stuff, and she deals very well with the contractors, the architects. She coordinates all that activity. It's just it's an unbelievable job, and I just want the townspeople and the public to know what the kind of staff we have in this office. And it's not to demean anybody else, because all the town employees do a wonderful job. We'd like to pay them all more than we do, but the amount of work that this lady does and has done, and the amount of hours she puts in extra above and beyond is just incredible. So sorry we can't give you more money right now, Debbie, but I just wanted you to know that, you know, we're behind you, and hopefully at some point before I'm off the board, we'll be able to give her a raise that more in line with what she really deserves. So
I would have to add my comment that I'm in total agreement with you. Totally. Debbie does an incredible job here, and we certainly couldn't operate without her.
I absolutely agree.
I've said in the past, the town of Raleigh's most valuable item is our employees.
True.
And the people that run this
We
town.
have some really top-notch. Yep.
Starting at the top.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Bernie?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to speak on behalf of the water department, but whether I'm allowed or not, I'm going to. I'll get forgiveness later, I guess. I would also endorse exactly what the selectmen have said, and as a member of a board of a department that's been under a fair amount of stress, and we have added enormously, I believe, to Debbie's workload. We could not have managed through the last 18 months without Debbie's wisdom, guidance, and forbearance as we kind of struggled, and I learned an awful lot as we kind of moved forward. So I would endorse everything that you guys have said about her work, and I am as I said, if I was still in business, I would have hired her away. So,
Don't be talking like that.
Thank you.
You know? No, I thank you, Bernie. I did fail to mention the fact that there has been, I don't know, I don't even think Debbie can track how many hours she spent on water board activities in the last 3 years, but, and going further back than that, actually. But, yeah, once again, it's just, she just does an unbelievable job, and I don't think the board can say enough of thanks to you, Debbie, for all you do and all the effort and work you put in. And I know you're embarrassed because you don't like to be the center of publicity, but, you know, this is our chance to say to you, thank you, and I wish we could give you more now, but at some point, believe me, we're gonna try and squeeze something in, so.
Actually, Deb, what we're gonna do is we're gonna save a lot more tonic cans, so we'll be working on it.
A lot of nickels.
Motion?
To approve the amended contract?
Yeah.
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the amended contract. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you for the nice comments, but it is a team effort, and certainly I
All
can't,
deserved,
I
believe me.
can't let this happen. Amy and Natalie and Elaine are terrific, and we work well as a team, and we work for a great Board of Selectmen, and take the time. You want to get engaged, you like projects, you like to get involved in a lot of things, and that certainly helps. And certainly working with Bernie on the water board has been wonderful, and the other members of the different boards in town. So we're here to help all the town boards.
You know, the staff here is excellent.
Thank you.
You do a fantastic job. Amy does a great job. Natalie, Elaine fills in all the little holes and makes us plenty of copies, so that we have plenty of paperwork. It's a well-run, well-oiled operation, and I think with the staff we have and the number of projects we're involved in. I mean, I've been a selectman on and off since 1991. I've never seen so many big projects going on at the same time, and to coordinate all that and keep everything going and provide everything that she needs for the Monday meetings. I mean, we'll see her now. She's going to be in here weekends because town meeting is coming up with budgets and warrant article is just, what else can I say?
It is an incredible time with so much going on. It is. Okay, all set?
Yep.
New business number 3, open special town meeting warrant. The Board of Selectmen needs to vote to open the special town meeting and to close it Wednesday, March 14th, 2018 at 4 p.m.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to open the special town meeting and close it on Wednesday, March 14th, 2018 at 4 p.m. All those in favor say aye.
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 Discuss setting up a meeting with the Board of Shellfish Commissioners to discuss the fiscal year 19 Shellfish Commissioners budget and revolving fund. A couple of years ago, the Board of Cemetery Commissioners, which is a 3-member elected board, transitioned from paying themselves hourly wages to work in the cemetery department to receiving an annual salary under General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 108. The town's attorney pointed out in a letter to the selectmen that because they are elected, they are subject to General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 108, which states that the salary and compensation of elected officials of a town shall be fixed annually by the vote of the town at an annual town meeting. The Shellfish Commissioners are similar in that they are elected 3-member board and are appropriated wages in the omnibus budget. In fiscal year 18, the wage budget was set at $1,700. However, none of the Shellfish Commissioners paid themselves in fiscal year 17 or year-to-date fiscal year 18. Does the board wish to invite the Shellfish Commissioners to an upcoming meeting to discuss their budget and provisions of General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 108? Could we schedule that as soon as the 5th, or would we have to go for the 12th?
We could reach out and see what their availability is to meet on the 5th or the 12th.
Do you want to set up a joint meeting?
Would it be worthwhile for one member of the board to meet with the Shellfish Commissioners at some point, or at least the chairman of their board, and figure out what they're doing so that when they come in here, when we, we'll have kind of a game plan so that You know what I mean? Because they haven't taken any money for 17 or 18, so, I mean, then they're obviously not in it for the money.
Right.
Not that it's a
No,
lot of
they-
money anyway,
I
but,
think they're working a lot to support the Shellfish Constable, which is an appointed position, and patrolling the clam flats and things like
Right.
that, and now they're interested also in the reinstituting that green crab program.
right. Who is it, the chairman of
I
the,
believe it's Mr. Nealon.
Yes, Ron.
Ron Nealon. Ron Nealon.
can we maybe
So maybe we could reach out to him.
reach out to him and see if we can set something up?
With one of the selectmen.
Yeah, I mean, just so we,
okay.
you know, in other words, we come in
Sure.
here and everybody kind of like looks
Yeah,
at each
you
other
can-
and we don't know what we're doing, if we can kind of find out what's going on and then see what they want to do. They want to collect money, if they don't want to get paid, or, you know, if they're getting them paid from another fund or something, I don't know. Just so we have an idea what's going on and
Makes sense.
we can make a.
No, they have not been paid anything at all.
Yeah, okay, so they don't mind coming in. I mean, Joe, I'm available, or Joe, you're available during the week sometime, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll reach
Say
out
with-
and-
Say with the chairman, or if he can't make it, I'll be willing to do it, or
Sure.
Cliff if he's around. Just to, you know, something to figure out what's going on, and so we certainly want to abide by the law.
Yeah.
And might be able to get that done fairly quickly, rather than take a lot of time at a selectmen's meeting, when we're kind of busy right now
Sure.
with dealing with budgets.
Okay.
Okay. Old business, number 1, update on the Pine Grove School project. I'd like to review the draft agreement with Dora Whittier concerning FF&E furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and technology procurement. And approve the following: authorization to purchase door hardware, and amendment number 5 to the W.T. Rich contract to cover the door hardware purchase. We have a draft agreement with Dora Whittier concerning FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Town Council Tom Mullen has been working with Brad Dorr on a resolution to the furniture, fixtures, and equipment procurement provision of the town's contract. Chairman Perry, Debbie, OPM Larry Berger, Tom Mullen, and Brad Dorr met to discuss this agreement. We worked out an agreement with Tom, and Tom wrote this draft. If the board is in agreement, he will send it to Brad to review and approve.
Well, I have a question about this. And my problem is I can't I can't see the basis for getting from Tom Mullen's December 19 letter to this draft settlement agreement. Because when you look at Tom's letter, he makes a very persuasive case that all of these FFE costs are included in basic services that Dorr and Whittier agreed to provide for a stated price, and therefore that they shouldn't have been billed separately to the town. And then when I go to the compromise agreement, basically the town would be saying that, well, we're going to be paying for all of these services, although most of them won't get paid until the end of the project out of contingency funds. So, I mean, how did we get to that position? It just seems like that's a real change in position, and I don't see any argument for it. There's no, like, Tom didn't provide a legal opinion saying, you know, I think this proposed settlement makes sense for the following reasons. It's kind of, I mean, it's a hard thing to vote to approve if you don't really know why you're approving it.
In sitting, in discussing with Brad and Tom, the agreement that we went back and forth on the issue, and that we tried to work out a compromise so that we would keep the project moving and we would not get into further litigation. I don't know if that's enough of an
Not
answer.
really. I mean, typically, when you settle something, it's because you perceive that there's a weakness in your case that causes you to reach that determination that you'd rather not litigate, you'd rather settle it. And I can't say where the weakness in our case is, according to Tom's letter. So it's just a difficult thing for me to sign off on as a former attorney myself, you know. go from one position to essentially the opposite position without an explanation for it.
I appreciate your,
Yeah.
concern.
Mr. Chairman, would it be helpful if we hold this off for a week and I maybe coordinate a phone call between Mr. Pierce and Mr. Mullen?
Mr. Mullen.
Yeah, that might be good, because I'm not being a lawyer, I understand Cliff's point.
Yep.
And I think my guess would be that the real reason for the settlement in this way is just to keep the project moving. Because if we get bogged down in a long legal battle, we don't want to extend the project out beyond the date, so, it's.
Would you be willing to do that?
Oh, sure, or even like an email from Tom would, providing his opinion that that's the reason for the settlement, compromise.
Bernie?
Does it make sense to ask how much we're talking about here? I mean, what's the dollar figure that's at stake?
Yeah, it's a substantial amount.
It's 93 plus 41.
134,000.
Yeah.
Roughly 93 plus 4,000, right?
No, there's also 41,000 for
Oh, I see,
advances
okay.
services, 93 for the designer services, and then also another 4,100.
Yeah, 10%.
It's like a surcharge for advances services, which is another issue, but I won't go there.
So I guess following on what Cliff says, I don't, either the original contract included this or it didn't. Sounds like it included it under the first reading from the lawyer, and now they're basically saying it doesn't include it. I guess these are design services.
Yeah, but I mean, Tom may perceive some ambiguity in the language of the contract, so you never know, but I just feel like I need to know what that is.
$140,000 is a lot of ambiguity.
No, that's fine,
No, I think that's reasonable.
I think that's reasonable.
I'm sure Tom has a good reason for it.
We'll
I
put it
don't
off.
doubt his abilities as a lawyer at all. I mean,
We'll put it off and put it off for a week.
fine with me.
Okay.
Will you be?
So I'll be gone as of Wednesday for
Okay.
a week.
So when you
Be away
return,
for a week.
when you return?
Next Thursday.
So that would be the 12th.
But I'll be available Friday, really. So I'll be available next Friday.
Okay, so we'll put that off for the meeting March 12th.
March 12th.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's
I
fine.
had to say it.
No, I think you're, now that's why I appreciate your being on the way. Okay,
Need the WT Rich.
yeah.
Right.
Authorizations, we're in the middle of a subcontracting bidding phase, and we expect over the next few selectmen meetings to be presenting authorizations to approve sub-trade contracts and the purchase of materials. For tonight's meeting, we need the selectmen to approve the authorization to purchase door hardware and to amend W.T. Rich's contract for this purchase, and to authorize Chairman Perry to sign these documents. Chairman Perry will sign these later.
What's the amount?
The low bidder was Kaploff Glass Inc., the amount of $68,137.50. That was the low qualified bidder. For the doorways, the hardware.
Where are you getting that figure?
It's in your packet.
Letter of recommendation number 5?
Yes.
Oh, yes, capital off was 68,137. Is that the one?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll give you a motion to accept that.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve awarding the contract to Capital Glass Inc. for $68,137.50.
And to authorize the chairman to sign the contract amendment.
That's all part of my motion.
And letter, okay. Letter of recommendation, number 5.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I know that Captain Sedgwick will be happy that we are purchasing the door hardware. He sat through a 3-hour meeting. Playing door hardware. Okay, old business, number 2, update on the fire station and police station addition project in Eris Park access during construction. The project continues to move forward. One of the most important priorities at this stage of the project is getting the gravel road built so that it will provide access to the ball fields. The plan is to get the road built by early April. The selectmen also need to consider closing Kids Kingdom Playground for at least the next 6 to 8 weeks because there will be no access to it until the road is built. The contractor is concerned about people using the playground during construction. Please see the attached plan. Dave Peterson will explain this in more detail. If we close the playground for the next 6 to 8 weeks, Debbie suggests that we place a sign at the entrance to Eris Park.
Yeah, basically, if you look at the plan on page 2, right now, if you look on the outer, the fence, if you go out to the site, you see the construction fence goes from on the front of the project, then the entrance to Eris Park, it goes all the way down back where the trailers are located on the left-hand side of that parking lot, and the fence goes down to where the large ball field is, and it's going around to the back. As part of the contract, the rec committee, Little League fields need to be open April 1st. And the contractor is aware and will have that new gravel access road open, which will then move the construction fence to the location where it says April 1. There's a blue line, mine is a blue line anyway, going across and around. That'll be the new construction fence. That'll open that back point up for access to the, behind the police station. That whole lot there will end up being some parking and access to that. And probably at that point, we may well be able to open the playground, but it depends on how things progress. Right now, they're digging soil out in the ball field area for the drainage for the stormwater management pit. And that should be all done by April 1st, so it's moving right along. And the contractor's concerned, there's been a couple of, they're not small kids, there's been a couple of, they look like either teenagers or even adults that have been using the swings out there, and the contractor's concerned about people on that equipment while the project's in, they just don't want to have any accidents. So we're recommending that we put a sign at the entrance to Eris Park, because that's open to the public at this point. So you can get down to the large ball field, you can also get to the conservation area that's Smith Lane. And then once the fence is moved and we get the road built, then we'll take a look at it and see where, if the playground could be used at that time, we'll open it up. If not, it may be a short delay. But the key is, and I'm meeting with our rec committee tomorrow night, so they're aware of that we committed to an April 1st opening for that road, which is when the Little League baseball starts. So they'll be able to use the baseball fields. And there'll be some limitation in parking. That's going to be the biggest problem for the summer. They're not going to have as much parking this summer. Once the whole thing is built, next winter, then for the following summer, we'll work out how much more parking they can get and so on and so forth. But right now, if you go by there, they're pushing a lot of dirt, and they were compacting it today where the fire station's going to go, to the right of the current police station. And they will be, next couple of weeks, they're going to be digging foundations and getting to work on the actual, the buildings themselves and the foundations and stuff, so.
Wow.
It's moving along. At the same time, like I say, if you drive into that parking lot, you can see where they're starting to construct the roadway, which will be a permanent gravel roadway for access to those smaller ball fields. So, if you got any questions,
No.
we'll see if Pat can put a sign up there of some sort, and you'll work it out. Town administrator will work it out with Pat, just enough to discourage people from going in and using the playground. We just don't want to have any, right now, to get to it, they actually have to climb over the Little League fence and into Aris Park, they have to climb over the fence into the big park, climb back over the fence on the other side of the construction fence, or cut through the woods. They cut through the woods, they could probably get there too from Circuit Drive, so. But it's moving along well. It took us a little while to get started because of the weather, but right now it's going along, moving right along, and everything seems to be going according to plan, so.
Thank you. Old business number 3, an update on the Annex Elevator Project and Annex Handicap Ramp. This is a follow-up discussion from the last meeting on this project. Debbie and Dave met with architect Alex Matthews from CBI to discuss the project and our plan to do the first floor handicap updates as part of Phase 1. Because the project didn't include a replacement handicap ramp, we will need to include that as an additional service. CBI will provide us with a cost estimate to add on to the project. We would like to request the funds from the Community Preservation Committee for the special town meeting. The article would provide us with funds to pay for option A, $212,199.07, plus additional funds to pay CBI for the design of the annex ramp and the actual construction costs. We need to request the CPC hold a meeting in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the situation is, we discussed it briefly last week, because we don't have sufficient funds and we may not need the elevator ultimately because of the Didax, possible acquisition of the Didax building. We are recommending that we do just Phase 1, which is update the first floor, make it totally handicapped accessible for the entire floor. As part of that, because originally we were going to have the elevator, we were planning on just removing the handicap ramp and not replacing it. Well, at this point, we would have to add that to the project because we have to have a handicap ramp there, and that ramp is in such shape that it needs to be totally replaced. It's not.
Right.
It's not even the ability to rehab it is not good. And the goal here would be we'd have the highway department go in and tear down the ramp when it's ready to go. And as part of the project, we've asked the architect to recommend how we keep access to the building while the project's going. So that's going to be, which is an issue.
Yeah.
So that
The council, when they have their lunches
Right.
on a Monday, they use that ramp to put the
Yeah.
materials into the building.
there's quite a few
Right.
people that walk that ramp. too,
They
when
do.
come in. You know,
They
it's
do.
not so much. There's not too many wheelchairs. A couple of wheelchairs, but a lot of just the elderly it's tough to get up the stairs. You know.
Yeah.
So that
Use the
project's
walkers.
ongoing, and we're going to really need to hope that we need to request the CPC to have a meeting so we can request that funds for an article to be on the special town meeting, and we hope that we've requested the architect to expedite us what he estimates the cost to be, so that we can, if we don't have an exact figure for the CPC meeting, we can, hopefully we'll have one by the time the town meeting warrant's printed, so, I think we definitely will have that, but so we're looking for 220, it's probably gonna be somewhere in the vicinity of 300,000 all told from the CPC.
So that's-
Hopefully less than that, but.
That would be just for making the first floor handicap accessible?
First floor handicapped accessible, the bathroom would become totally handicapped accessible. The whole council on aging would be, and the idea being that if and when we get Didax, those office spaces will all move to Didax. And the council on aging will basically take over the whole first floor of that building. And if we don't need the second floor, then our intent is never to put the elevator in. I mean, we're not looking to do that if we don't need to. And,
We need a motion to approve sending it to the CPC.
Yes, the Board of Selectmen
Yeah.
needs to make a decision at this point with that suggestion.
At this
because
point,
we
I would
can't
request,
afford
say,
to do the
say,
elevator project
I would say that
totality.
we request the CPC to have a meeting prior to the town meetings, and then I would say at this point, we ask for 300,000, and we'll adjust that figure down as we get better pricing, but that should cover us for general purposes.
We've made some repairs to the ramp,
Yeah.
but
The ramp is in,
it needs to be replaced if,
we did some repairs last year, we put railings on it that were all broken, and it just, we just it's essential that we get that ramp fixed, because if anybody complains, we got issues.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion for 300,000 for the ramp for the first floor, and from the CPC, and request that they hold a meeting at their convenience before town meeting too.
We have a
Okay.
second from Mr. Murray. Bob?
Yep.
Any further discussion?
I just am kind of surprised at the amount of money it's gonna cost just to do one floor. Is there anything in here that is discretionary that can be deleted from the project to?
Well, we can go back and, nitpick certain things. But if we're gonna, my idea is, and I think Debbie agrees, that if we're gonna do this, we're famous for doing things and then needing to come back later, let's do it and do it right.
Mhm.
And CPC has sufficient funds to do it right, and this should make that building usable as a senior center for as long as any of us are around here anyway, for the next 20, 25 years. If we start doing a little bit here, a little bit there, the biggest cost is gonna be the ramp, it's the bathroom costs are big, the doorways, the door hardware, it's just, it's amazing. When we started this project a year ago, or a year and a half ago, we had no idea that it was gonna cost us $1.8 million to do the whole building. We were looking at the elevator price, which is around $750,000, and that's what we kind of figured on, with some minor repairs, but the ADA requirements are just, they're huge. And rightly so. I mean, we want that building to be accessible for people that are gonna use it, particularly where it's the Council on Aging, and they have a lot of people that, most everybody that goes in there has some kind of we're all getting old.
And that rear door just does not.
Yeah, it'll change the doors. I
Oh.
mean, it'll do the job the way it should be done. I've just, around my own house, I've done nitpicking over the years for different things.
Oh, yeah.
Then years later, a year or two later, you come back and say, why didn't they do it right the first time? And the idea here is, let's do it right. It's been engineered, they've given us what we need, and there was a company came in and went through it with a fine-tooth comb as a consultant to the architect, and the other thing is we get into this, if the state, if we start trying to nitpick it, the state comes in, and if they're not happy with what we're doing, they'll shut the building down. So it's, it's not just us, we're supervised by the state laws.
Yeah, I understand.
Larry?
If we move the Council on Aging to the Didax building and kept, we'll say, the health and inspection at the annex, we'd still have to have a handicap ramp and bathroom, correct? So it's not really a function of the Council on Aging, it's making the building handicapped accessible if we're gonna use it at all for
Right.
anything.
We do have to make it, right, that first floor.
I
at
just
least.
wanted to make it clear that it's not the Council on Aging.
Oh, yeah, we're not blaming the council, believe me, we're not blaming the Council on Aging, but.
Yeah, even though they don't vote, so.
But no, we need to, that'll give them total access to that they need a
Right.
much larger space for their
Yes.
activities. And if we can get Didax, then that'll give them the space they need. And the other important thing is, where it's a historical building for the town, we don't want to have it abandoned, we want to keep it in use, because as soon as you don't use a building, it deteriorates real fast.
And also, the Council on Aging is, the members are used to that location.
It's a good location, right in the center of
Right.
town. They're all used to going there. There's a sufficient parking there now that we added that parking lot in the back, and we're gonna do a little more paving over there, we hope, in the spring or summertime, to make a little easier access and things like that. So it's a valuable building. It's in good shape, so.
The thing you gotta remember is if you're gonna walk it, it's uphill both ways.
Yeah.
True.
That sounds familiar.
I know, I walked it for many years.
Okay, so we are going to, did we take a vote?
No.
No. To request CPC money, $300,000? We had a motion, we had a second from Mr. Murray. All those in favor say aye.
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 Something else we might look at. think about at least, is we did some work here about a year ago with the harbor master, repairing ramps and getting new ramps
Yes.
built and things like that. And the units that they use to go up and down from the bulkhead down to the water, the ramp that they put in there was really, really nice. And it would make a really
idea.
nice handicap ramp.
Yep.
Well, the only thing we run into there is it's gotta be, whatever we do with that ramp is gotta be acceptable to the historical people. I don't think they'll find a metal ramp as being acceptable. But we'll probably have a hard time just putting Trex on the
Well,
stair
to make
treads.
it their hand, make it their.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that,
We're gonna be right where we are today.
yeah. But I mean, they're very paranoid. When we went over looking for the elevator stuff, we spent a lot of time with them just on the ventilator shaft that was gonna be above the elevator. So they can be tough to deal with, and I think that, you know, the ramp, we wanna make it as much of a replacement of what's there now, so that there's a minimum of problems with it, with dealing with them.
Okay, moving on to old business, discuss capital projects, completion of the town hall window replacement project, selectmen's office floors, town hall handicap ramp, fire alarm and security systems for municipal buildings. This is a follow-up agenda item. We are planning to seek CPA funding for the completion of the town hall windows, 5 remaining windows in the selectmen's office, town hall handicap ramp replacement, ask the CPC for funds out of their administrative line to pay for the architect's construction plans and specifications. Request the CPC for the construction funds through an article on the special town meeting. We will look at repurposing balances from other projects to offset the requested amount from the CPA account. The Board of Selectmen needs to discuss and vote on these.
Yeah, this is almost similar to what the other things we've been looking at is, we got the windows, there's one new window in this office behind the secretary's desk. All these remaining windows are the old windows that never got replaced because we ran out of money. So if, by buying these 5 windows, it'll totally, all the windows on the first floor of this building, as well as the second floor, will be done. And they're not insulated glass. It's cold in here. They need to be done, and they need to match up. So it's just one of those projects that's been kind of put on hold with everything else going on. So we'd like to finish those off. The handicap ramp, or the office floors here, is one only has to look down on the floor, and I trip over the scattered rugs every time I come in. And it's way overdue. The floors in the rest of the first floor were redone a number of years ago, and it's time to get these done before someone
Yeah,
gets
so
hurt.
we can get prices. Do you want carpet or do you want to extend that laminate in here?
I'm not,
Whatever you tell us we're gonna do.
the carpet is nice in terms of having meetings. It deadens the noise. Obviously, it doesn't last as long, but I almost think that, you know, my recommendation would be, I don't care, but I just hate to put a wooden floor down here and then we have that hollow sound, and then we end up putting an area rug in here or something. And I don't know what anybody else feels, but
Yeah, all right,
just
take
make for a warmer.
Take a vote, so we can get a price.
Yeah.
And any color, the same color?
You guys can.
Don't want to go there. You can pick.
You can pick. You're here every day, all day. You ladies, you can pick out what you feel is appropriate.
Okay, so carpet, okay.
On the town hall handicap ramp, it's not as bad as the one over at the annex, but over the years, the salt that we use for the wintertime, and instead of using a chemical, the custodians have been putting salt out there, which is totally rusted away, the brackets, the nails, in fact, I've gone out there, and I think, Bob, you might have, we've replaced a number of screws out there to keep the boards down. On top of that, the railings don't conform with the current regulations.
Yep.
Building inspector basically says it needs to be replaced. So we talked to CBI, and they're gonna give us a price on what it would cost for them to do the architectural work. So Debbie and I discussed the idea that we'll ask the CPC for some of their administrative money to pay to have the thing designed, and then they'll also give us an estimate and we'll ask CPC for that money to get the ramp replaced.
We'll have that available for,
Yeah,
To
we
put
should
on
have,
the
we should
warrant.
have it on the special, we're hoping to get it all on the special warrant, because those are two projects, the handicap access, we gotta get them done, because we don't need to have a problem. And that's another issue that will have to be dealt with in terms of while the construction's going on. How do we handle, and I'm not sure how to do that, but the architect's gonna make recommendations, or talk to the Architectural Access Board, make sure we're compliant while the construction's going. It might be a matter of over a couple of weekends. And, you know, this ramp isn't wide enough, the turns aren't, you know, it was fine when we built it back in the late 80s, but it's no longer compliant, and we need to bring it up to date.
I think there may be an issue, though, of using funds, CPC funds from their administrative line to pay for architect construction plans. I don't think that's really an administrative expense. It seems to me it's more like a construction expense, so we've.
Well, if we can't.
It might be contrary to CPC.
If we can't do that, we'll get it from the regular funds.
Okay.
I just figured a way of using, because I don't know how much administrative funds they use for much of anything at this point, so it's.
And usually, yeah, we
We can check
sometimes
with
it's
Karen O'Donnell and see
land
what she says.
surveyors or appraisers or things, but
Yeah.
I guess I see what you're saying. We weren't sure. We were hoping then to get
Plus,
to
we-
pay CBI to come up with at least a cost
We were hoping
estimate.
if we could use
Because
administrative
there are
funds, then we could get started right away
materials.
on the design. Otherwise,
Okay.
we have to wait until we get the money at town meeting, so it's.
But we'll get a price proposal from CBI with an estimate on what we think it
Yeah,
can.
we'll see. We'll
a
check with Karen
construction-
O'Donnell and see what she recommends.
We'll ask for an article at town meeting for the whole thing.
need a motion on that?
Yeah, so if we'll change it from what we prepared, that it would be, and we'll be seeking an appropriation from town meeting for architectural services and construction under one article for the town hall
We'll have a price on that at
ramp.
a later time.
Okay.
The final one, fire alarm and security systems for both this building and the annex. We talked about this before, the fire chief, this is also related to the wiring for the fire alarm system that the chief came in and talked to us about a couple of 3 weeks ago. We're gonna, chief's given us a proposal that everybody has received regarding replacing the wired system with a radio system for security and the fire alarm system, which would go to an outside contractor. The alarm, they would monitor the alarms for both buildings. Security alarms, this security alarm in here, I know has been here since, I was first a selectman in '91, and it's the same code, the same system as was here then, so we're looking to update those with a system where everybody would be assigned an ID number so that we could monitor who comes in the building and who doesn't after hours. And the same system would be over at the annex for security, for both security and the fire alarm system. Remember what the cost was, Debbie? I don't have it with me, I didn't bring that.
I thought we talked about 15,000.
I think it was around 15,000 for the security and fire alarm systems for both buildings. And that way, ultimately, within a year or so, we could take down all the red wire on poles, and all the companies would be, that would include the housing authority also under this initial proposal, we would pay for the housing authority.
But that's not out of CPC money.
No, that's out of regular, that's gonna be part of the capital request.
We need to vote for that separately.
So that'll be,
I need a motion on that.
yeah. So what do you want to,
So if the board wants to just take a vote on the ones that are the CPA oriented, and ones, the historical window replacement.
the window replacement and the
and
handicap ramp are
Town hall
both,
handicap ramp.
CPC, the selectman's office floor is
It's a capital.
that's a capital request, it's not
Right.
CPC.
So we'll have a motion for CPC.
To make those requests to the CPC for funding for.
And some of this, we're looking, on the other things, we're looking at reusing some other funds, so
We'll keep
we haven't
working on that.
determined exactly where that money's gonna come from, but this will be, we're just looking for the formal okay to go to the CPC for the window replacement and the town hall handicap ramp at this time, and then, the agreement that we would put the office floors and the alarm systems in the capital budget.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to, for the CPC funding. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a motion for the capital funding, capital projects.
I'll give you the motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded for the capital projects. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have budgets. We have fiscal year 19 budgets. First one is for the town hall.
Give you a motion, Mr. Chairman. Other than the wage increase, is level funded.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. For the annex,
I'll make the motion to approve that, which is level funded.
I'll second it.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Recycling, we have a decrease.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve.
And that's just the way the payroll year, sometimes there's an extra payroll day in the year, mostly on the employees that work, 5 business days, but the Saturdays are lining up, so there's a decrease. It's just one less Saturday.
We have a motion?
I'll give you the motion.
No, we have a
Oh, we
motion.
have, I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And inspection, Ken Ward.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the inspection department fiscal year 19 budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have minutes. How are we looking for minutes? Everybody was here? Bob Snow was absent, he is absent.
I'll give you a motion for January 22nd, 2018.
Motion has been made,
Second.
seconded to approve the minutes for January 22nd, 2018. All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll give you a motion for January 29th meeting.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded for the minutes for the Board of Selectmen meeting for January 29th, 2018. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have announcements. The Friends of the Council on Aging is sponsoring a shoe drive during the month of April at the Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street. Paired footwear such as the following may be deposited in the container at the Annex parking lot. Shoes, boots, work boots, sandals, slippers, flip-flops, heels, sneakers, pocketbooks, purses, backpacks, and belts. Information on the Pine Grove School project is available on the town's website at www.townofraleigh.net. Town meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 30th, 2018, at 7 p.m. in the Pine Grove School Gymnasium. The Treasurer Collector announces that the motor vehicle excise tax bills were mailed on February 2nd, 2018. The town has the following vacancies: fence viewer, 3 positions; wood, lumber, and bark inspector; zoning board of appeals associate, 3 seats; Parks and Recreation Committee, 1 seat, and Deputy Shellfish Constables, 2 positions. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectmen's office at 948-2372. The Raleigh Food Pantry is in need of donations. Donations can be left at the Raleigh Public Library. The food pantry is open on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and on Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Give you a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.